Hello, art friends. My name is Fleshwad, and welcome to the first of many Drawing Your Creepypasta OCs Halloween edition. In this video, I have two Halloween-themed Creepypasta OCs for you. As always, make sure to watch this video in the dark with the lights off and your headphones on for the best viewing experience. Enjoy. Peekaboo, submitted by Creepypasta. It was about noon in the middle of the summer. It was hot out, very hot out. Renad was on a trip to visit her parents as she had recently finished college and decided that now was a good time to visit the people who paid for her to go there. Luckily, Renad had arrived safely to her parents' house. She was a bit more in the punk style than what her parents liked, but considering how close the family was, everything was going fine. Renad didn't have a job yet, so she couldn't pay much back to her parents at the moment for everything they've done for her, nor could she pay for herself to go anywhere while she was visiting. Even so, her parents offered to take the entire family on a summer vacation trip. Renad's little brother, Tyler, had school off for the summer break, so it fit everyone's schedule. Renad took her small bag with her. She filled it with the necessities consisting of water, snacks, a flashlight, a notebook, and pen. Anything she thought she could need. The family got in the car and drove off to a familiar place, a lake house owned by Renad's uncle. For previous summer vacations, they'd always visit. However, they stopped a few years back because Renad was going off to college. As they made it to the lake house, Renad's dad told her that he wanted to talk inside, while the rest of them went to the lake. This was a normal practice. The two were familiar with it, as they'd called plenty of times to talk about the same thing. Ever since Renad had gone to college, her dad would call up and discuss some job offers that his friends had. This could range from restaurants to gardening, from fishing to dog sitting. Today, however, her dad had something more exciting. Today, her dad had an offer from a family friend, Lewis. Lewis owned a large park out in the small town near the lake. It was a wooded park, obviously, an understatement to say that it was large. Part of it was a park. However, the woods extended farther than that, and Lewis had just purchased the entirety of it. It was near a lake as stated, so people were all over the place. Lewis wanted to offer Renad the spot to being a park ranger. Renad loved forests. She liked the animals and plants inside, plus the trees would provide some shade during the hot months of the year. This offer piqued her interest, and considering that she had been studying related things throughout college and high school, she took up the offer. "Wonderful," her dad said, though the slightest bit of worry could be found in his voice. Renad wasn't too wary, however. The rest of the trip went as planned until the last day. Renad knew that the park she was going to work at was near, so she got her dad to drop her off there with her bag. She was greeted by Lewis at the parking lot. The forest was more beautiful than she had thought. As Lewis started explaining the job to Renad, she couldn't help but have her attention drawn to one of the trees. A shadow disappeared just seconds after she'd seen it. This got the girl's attention even further. Just to be sure, she asked Lewis the question. "Are there any visitors or workers that are meant to be over there?" Renad pointed over to the tree line that she saw the shadow at. It was a bit closer to them than she would have liked, if it was something bad. "No, not at this time of day. Ha." Lewis's face was in a smile, but clearly he was nervous. Renad guessed that this could be a normal reaction to a trespasser. However, he never sent anyone to check it out. This confused Renad. "So why were you asking about that?" Lewis dropped his smile a bit, but he kept up whatever this was. "I'm sure it's nothing, but I saw a shadow move into the forest." Renad knew she wasn't about to be one of those stupid horror movie characters that would have just said nothing, or some bull along those lines. To Renad's surprise, Louis didn't reply. She wasn't the best socially, so she just stayed quiet. As they kept walking, Louis went back to explaining the job before the deal was final. Renad thought it was a joke. June 16th, 2013. Renad starts her job. The night started to fall upon her as she starts her job. Renad looks at the time. Her coworker should be here any second to clock out. Renad had met her a few days beforehand, Sally. Sally had quite a bit in common with her. They both liked the forest, they both adored the animals inside, etc. They had been hanging out recently at the park to give Renad a sort of familiarity with the layout. Sally got hours 12 p.m. through 5 p.m. Renad got hours 5 p.m. through 4 a.m. Renad had asked for longer hours for several reasons. The first being that she loved being out at night. The second being that she didn't want other people to have to spend their night away doing something they didn't want to in the middle of the night. The sun was starting to set as they narrowed in at 6 p.m. Something was lurking in the back of Renad's mind, however. There are a few rules you may want to remember during your time here, Renad. 1. When your flashlight flickers, look straight ahead. Do not look up or down. Do not look left or right. And most of all, do not look behind you. Your flashlight is not low on batteries. We make sure of that. 2. If you hear a crack from above or below, from times 1 a.m. to 2 a.m., stand very still with your eyes closed for 7 minutes. No more and no less. 3. If you see a strange orange light that flashes from a bush, ignore it. That isn't human nor animal. 4. When it hits midnight, try to head closer to the main cabin around the parking lot. It is a lot less likely to find you there. You can also stop for water or snacks, even batteries. 5. If anything does find you, either run farther into the woods to keep it away from the people, or run to your car to try to escape. The decision is up to you. It is your life. 6. Finally, if you see her in the window, get under the table, hands over your head, and close your mouth and eyes. While waiting for Sally, she was reciting this newfound information in her head. It had to have been a joke. Sally clocks in for the night and hugs Renad. She looked afraid and Renad could feel her shaking. Renad knew better than to ask, but this only lodged the rules further into her mind. On the first night, nothing happened. A few branches snapped from above at 12:40 a.m. However, it wasn't in the time frame that Louis gave Renad, so she didn't do anything. She clocked into that night and drove home. On the second night, at around midnight, her flashlight started to flicker. She wanted to close her eyes. Renad felt an evil in the area. She kept walking and looked forward. She eventually saw an orange light from a bush in front of her. She assumed that because her flashlight stopped flickering, she would just go left. The deeper in she went, the more stuff happened. She eventually remembered that she could go back to the cabin around this time if she felt unsafe. As she made her way to the cabin, she saw a figure again. But this time, it looked like Sally. Renad didn't know what to do, so she ran to the cabin and hid under the table and did what she was told. She had seen Sally drive away. That wasn't her. The week passed and Renad was tired. Sally was less and less energetic as well. Renad had no idea how long Sally was working there. Renad fell asleep, and the day came. Week 2, Day 1. Renad was used to almost everything by this point. She got a bit of a thrill from it. Sometimes it felt as if she was being hunted. Her flashlight flickered a bit at the start of her shift. This wasn't normal. As she was told, she kept looking ahead. Before night had even come, she saw the lady. She went into the cabin and hid. It was peaceful until midnight. Renad went closer to the cabin, but her light started flickering, so she kept moving. Renad kept seeing Sally out of the corner of her eye, so she hid again. Every time Sally would appear, she became more and more messed up. She looked like she was melting, like something was pretending to be her and going into its natural form. Renad now knew why Lewis was hesitant to allow her in the night watch. Eventually, Sally didn't clock out. Sally was gone, and Renad had an idea of what could have happened to her. Renad saw it later that day. A horrific creature was running through the woods, running towards her. Renad only saw a glimpse of it, and she wasted no time running. It found her, and now she had to make a choice. She was going to escape. She ran as fast as she could. Sometimes she'd see a light from the bushes. Other times her flashlight would flicker, but she didn't care. She just kept running while avoiding everything she didn't want to deal with. She saw her car and kept running. Renad unlocked her car, got in, locked it again, and sat there catching her breath. Renad heard a crack from above. She heard it again from below. One last time from behind her. She looked in the rearview mirror. In her back seat was Sally. Sally was twitching away. Flies were on her, and it was quite disturbing. Renad closed her eyes, breathing as best as she could. She was last heard screaming as she was dragged out of her car, back deep into the forest, forced to live a new identity, a simple slave to the monster in the woods. A new rule has been added to the list of 6. 7. If you hear the peekaboo, run for your goddamn life. Tricks for All, submitted by Sparky Animations. Me and my friends went out trick-or-treating for Halloween as a fun get-together. We had never all been trick-or-treating together without an adult before, but this year our parents agreed that since we were all 15 years old, we should be allowed to go on our own this year. All of us had different colored pillowcases, filled around halfway with candy from the houses we had been visiting for the last hour or two. "Hey guys," I called. "Do you think we should visit that really cool house with all the cool decorations?" My friend Samantha, or Sam, as she preferred to be called, turned around to look at me. "I'm down. That place always looks sick. Also, have you guys noticed that every year they have a different theme?" she asked. One of my other friends, Presley, looked at Sam. "I hadn't noticed," she said wonderingly. "I saw a few of them, but we don't usually pass the house when me and my family go out for Halloween. My little sister gets too scared most of the time," I told them. "I remember the one time they had that alien invasion theme, the one with the UFO over the deck," I exclaimed. "Oh yeah," Sam replied. "And the time with the zombie apocalypse?" Presley looked at us in amazement. "They really get that decked out for Halloween?" she asked us as we continued on our way to the house. "Yeah, they always have the most detailed decorations and the most amount," Samantha told her. There was a short pause before Presley said, "Wow, that's some dedication." We all laughed. A few minutes later, we arrived at the Halloween house. To quote a few people living in the area, "Whoa," I said in awe. "That's so cool." The lawn was scattered with prop bodies. There was even one on the deck chair and a couple dangling from the roof. "Look!" Sam laughed. "There's the killer." She pointed to a corner of the lawn where, sure enough, there was a prop human holding a knife with blood-stained clothes on, positioned to look like it was looking at the people coming up the driveway. "That's so cool," said Presley, looking around at all the decorations. We decided to go up the driveway, the long way, so we could admire all the work put into decorating the house. Once we got to the porch, we noticed the little hidden body that was meant to be hung up from the ceiling of the overhang as if the killer had stabbed them, and then hung them up to display. I walked over to take a closer look when I noticed 3 things. 1. The windows were boarded up and actually nailed closed. 2. There was something dripping from the decoration. And 3. There was a horrible stench that just got worse and worse the closer I got to the prop. When I stopped, I was right in front of the fake body. When I looked down, I noticed a small puddle of red on the floor, where the liquid had been dripping. The stench was worse than ever. And it was so strong, I wanted to be sick. I realized quickly what that must mean. Red liquid dripping from a terrible smelling, supposedly fake body. It couldn't be fake, and if it wasn't fake, then that meant we needed to get out of here and fast. I ran back to my friends and told them what I had seen. But only when I was finished did I notice the man's face in the window duck beneath the boards. "We have to go now," I said as I grabbed my 2 friends' wrists. Right as the door opened, and a strong hand pulled us all inside, slamming the door behind us. A man in a black hoodie stood in front of the door, blocking our exit. "You found out my little secret," he said in a deep, gravelly voice. "I can't have you girls running around telling the police now, can I?" He proceeded to take out a long, razor-sharp knife from under his cloak and calmly walked over only to stab Samantha in the chest repeatedly while she screamed. "You girls will make a perfect addition to my collection," he said while he walked over to Presley and did the same to her. By the time he was done with my friends, I was huddling in the corner, crying. He slowly started to walk towards me. "Stay away from me," I screamed. He stopped for a moment and smiled. "Why would I? When you're the most beautiful doll in my collection," he said, walking closer, then stabbing me and proceeding to cut out my heart while I screamed in pain. The world started fading quickly, and the last thing I saw before nothing was the man in the cloak holding my heart in his hand and whispering, "Good night, doll. Soon you'll be out helping me play tricks on them all." And that was all of the stories I had for you in this video. I hope you enjoyed. I don't have too many other Halloween stories, so I might go back as I did in this video and grab some from last year when I had more submissions and I didn't have enough time to read all of those stories because they are super creepy and deserve to be read. Even though they're a year old, and probably those authors are not even watching my videos anymore, but if you are, hi. That being said, please comment any Halloween stories down below, any October themed stories. Give it your best shot. Your story might end up on the channel. Please give the video a like if you liked the art and the stories. Subscribe if you haven't. And leave a creepy comment below. It means the world to me. Thank you so much for watching, art friends. Until the next video. Bye.